As of this recording, we are less than 2 months away from the release of The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. Yet there has been this narrative, this discussion that perhaps Nintendo has been too quiet about this game because there's still so much mystery about this game. And from one perspective, you can argue that's a great thing because there hasn't been anything spoiled. There will be a lot to surprise us when we finally play the game. But from another, considering that this is a direct sequel taking place in the same area on the same console, some are wondering if the game is different enough. And when you also factor in that this is the first main Nintendo title on the Switch that has a $70 regular price tag, it raises even more questions. Well, interestingly, Nintendo of America's president Doug Bowser has finally given us some info as to why Nintendo chose the $70 pricing. Is this enough, or does Nintendo need to tell us more about this game before it releases? That's what we're talking about today.
Hey, listen!
Welcome everyone, this is Andre's Restart, and today we're talking about whether Nintendo has been too quiet about Tears of the Kingdom. And part of this conversation includes this situation regarding the pricing. They have chosen a higher pricing model, and they've given us a little bit more explanation as to why, so we will be getting into that. But with this higher pricing, and with Nintendo being so quiet, some fans are not sure they should purchase Tears of the Kingdom yet. There hasn't been enough information. You could argue that by not telling us things about Tears of the Kingdom, that leaves a lot more up for surprise, which is a good thing, less spoilers, more surprises when we actually play the game. There were some amazing elements that I discovered in Breath of the Wild only through playing it that still to this day give me incredible memories. But there are many others who don't have enough information on this game that want more. So it begs the question, has Nintendo been too quiet? And before we get into this information from Doug Bowser, the president of Nintendo of America, about the pricing, let me point out that we now have a goal to hit 25,000 subscribers by May 12th when Tears of the Kingdom comes out. Again, as I said yesterday, this may seem like an unlikely goal, but if you enjoy my content, please subscribe and hit that notification bell, because if you do, maybe it will become a bit more likely. So let's now get into the story. What's going on here? The Associated Press had a Q&A with Nintendo of America's president Doug Bowser. And there were several interesting questions here, but today we're focusing on the one regarding Tears of the Kingdom's pricing. And they ask, how did you get to a $70 price figure for the upcoming Zelda game? And Doug answers, we look at what the game has to offer. I think fans will find this an incredibly full, deeply immersive experience. The price point reflects the type of experience that fans can expect when it comes to playing this particular game. This isn't a price point that we'll necessarily have on all our titles. It's actually a fairly common pricing model either here or in Europe or other parts of the world, where the pricing may vary depending on the game itself. And I'll just throw this in here because it's interesting. They ask, any sales goals for the new Zelda? Doug responds, there are, but they are not publicly disclosed yet. So yes, Doug Bowser isn't giving us any huge information here that tells us something dramatically new about Tears of the Kingdom that we couldn't have probably already extrapolated. But perhaps there was some doubt on the scope of this game. And Doug Bowser does iterate that the reason for the pricing is because this is an incredibly full, deeply immersive experience. And the implication here is that is more than anything else we've gone for Switch. Given that it is the highest priced Nintendo game on the Switch, it suggests that Tears of the Kingdom is a bigger, deeper experience than even Breath of the Wild. And while file size isn't necessarily the best indicator for how long and big a game actually is, Tears of the Kingdom does have a larger file size than Breath of the Wild. Tears of the Kingdom is at 18.2 and Breath of the Wild is at 14.4, which I think accounts for the DLC. So there's a lot more in Tears of the Kingdom straight up, even with Nintendo's advanced compression technology and doing things in a very calculated, intelligent way. But another reason to believe that this is a bigger game is simply because They are building on Breath of the Wild as a foundation, and they've been working on this game for 6 years. It's been the longest gap between major Zeldas ever, and I don't think they've simply been sitting around doing nothing. And with us waiting so long, it does make me wonder, could they have told us more? And when I think about how they handled Breath of the Wild, it does feel that it was a bit different. But with good reason. Breath of the Wild during the Wii U era was all we had to be excited about, so they needed to tell us about that game even when it wasn't coming out soon, just to give us Nintendo fans something to be excited about. But also with the launch of the Switch, there was reason to showcase this game because it was a big deal. It was going to excite fans to buy the Switch. It was the day one launch title, and it was a significant factor in the incredible success that we've seen from the Nintendo Switch. So I bring that up and the Wii U situation to sort of get at why Nintendo may have given us more information about Breath of the Wild in comparison to what we've gone for Tears of the Kingdom. The title reveal trailer and the January 2017 Switch presentation trailer, those trailers were bulky. They had a lot in there that were dense with concepts and ideas that really excited us. And there were several teasers beforehand, and we had hours of gameplay on the Great Plateau, along with a few other snippets from beyond that as well. There was a lot more that we knew about Breath of the Wild 2 months before its release in comparison to what we have for Tears of the Kingdom so far. It is a significant difference. But I'll tell you, if Nintendo announces that they will have a playable demo of Tears of the Kingdom at PAX, which is just a couple weeks away, actually not even at this point, then maybe that changes everything. Of course, it doesn't look like Tears of the Kingdom will be at PAX, even though I plan on maybe being there. I'm not 100% sure yet right now, but I do have tickets, and I was hoping you would be there. And if you take a look at the booth, it says Nintendo versus Arcade, which does not sound like maybe they'll have a Tears of the Kingdom booth, and this will be more about just having multiplayer Switch games there, which might be fun, but not if you're trying to cover new game information. So that doesn't give me a lot of hope that Tears of the Kingdom will be there. So when will they show it? Will they wait until after the release for the Mario movie, which comes out April 5th? At which point we have just a month before release of Tears of the Kingdom? Is that really the right time to do it? To wait that long to give us enough information for those who are on the fence about this game? I have some skepticism, but I think we should also note that Nintendo, as time progresses, shows repeatedly that they are able to have very quick turnarounds on a number of things that still end up being incredibly successful. I remember 3D All-Stars. That was rumored throughout the entire year. So many people doubted its existence, and during the pandemic year, there wasn't a lot to be excited about. Yet, 2 weeks before its release, Nintendo had a Mario Anniversary Direct announcing a number of Mario plans, including this long-anticipated 3D All-Stars compilation of Mario 64, Sunshine, and Galaxy, and even though it was a limited release, it sold 9+ million copies in a alarmingly fast amount of time. It did well, despite that incredibly short announcement to release window. You look at Metroid Prime Remastered, wasn't really celebrated, wasn't really talked about, had a very short amount of time in the Direct, yet they put it out there, shadow drop, $40, one of the best looking games on Switch, one of the highest rated games on Switch, and for about a month it stayed on the top of the Switch eShop charts. Now last I checked it was number 2, which definitely disappoints my heart, but it looks like it's done pretty well. We'll see for sure in a little while, but it doesn't seem like it did poorly. It does raise my concerns that maybe it could have done better had they just marketed it appropriately, but we'll see what happens with that one. However, you look at the Switch situation itself. When they launched the Switch, they had this teaser for in October, they showcased it fully in January, and it came out March 3rd. A very, very quick turnaround. And with Tears of the Kingdom, technically, we've known about this game for years, and it still wins most anticipated game across pretty much every outlet and award show. So it isn't like there isn't a hype for Tears of the Kingdom. It isn't like there isn't an excitement there, and it isn't like people aren't paying attention to this game. This game is still attracting more attention than seemingly any other game out there right now. So Has Nintendo been too quiet? It's hard to say for sure, because we don't know how much better the game will sell if they had told us more later. Only Nintendo can take a look at their numbers and statistics and compare across other games and how they marketed them and decide fully if they're doing a great job by being extremely quiet about this game. And that is the case. Nintendo is being far more quiet about Tears of the Kingdom than they were about Breath of the Wild. And I'll say, even though they told us more about Breath of the Wild than Tears of the Kingdom, there was still a lot of things I was surprised about when I played Breath of the Wild. Finding the Divine Dragons, finding the Lynels, those were incredible surprises. And I am excited to see what kind of surprises we'll get in Tears of the Kingdom. What else could there be? I'm sure there's a lot there. And based off Doug Bowser's comments on how this is an incredibly full, deeply immersive experience, I'm excited to see what caused Nintendo to price this at $70, being the highest priced Switch game from Nintendo. It's exciting to think about, and I'm sure we'll get more details soon. But what do you guys make of this situation? Do you think that this is the right pricing for Tears of the Kingdom? Do you think Nintendo has been too quiet? Or have they been just the right amount of quiet? Let me know in the comments below. Anyways, everyone, this is Andre's Restart. Thank you so much for listening and watching, and I'll see you all really soon. Take care.